exercises that will help us walk out here and start expanding our rib cage.
So that's the problem that we're facing, or what I'm seeing in my practice today, is that people don't realize that that muscle is underutilized. And when you don't use a muscle, what usually happens to that muscle? It atrophies. So the problem is how do you engage a muscle that sits within your rib cage? This is why we use the strategies such as a power breather and all, which you can effectively use right off the bat to actually engage that muscle and bring awareness back to the brain to actually create that kind of subconscious movement in that muscle.
And if we don't have power breathers available to us?
Well, I would say the first step is to be aware of how you're breathing, right? So I would say even if you're all sitting here today, just keeping one hand on your chest, one hand on your abdomen, and just taking a deep breath, seeing where that breath goes, and you can see where it went, right to the chest, right? So what you need to do, at least on an awareness standpoint, is start putting the feedback back to the diaphragm. And so what you can do is just sitting there. Even what I would suggest is even laying down. So if you're doing other meditative work or some yoga stretches, you can lay down on your back. And you can have your knees bent to relax the abdominal muscles, and then place your hands on the abdomen and start focusing breath through there. Again, usually it takes some supervised visits with someone to teach you how to do that. For most people, as I said, not everybody here needs power breathers. But what I'm finding is that in a world where we're on the go, and neurologically speaking, we're on high sympathetic tone. So if we have this high sympathetic tone, it's going to basically override anything we're trying to do. So what this power breather does, it refocuses the energy into the diaphragm, and then you can then actively incorporate strategies to enhance that as well. Now, the good thing with the diaphragm, you're looking at two things of a diaphragm. You're looking at its mobility, but you're also looking at its strength element. So a power breather is what athletes use to enhance the strength of the diaphragm. You know, and that's why if you ever look at martial artists, when they engage certain movements, they yell. And why do they do that? Because they engage your diaphragm. So it's the same principle. It's just we've just lost this total awareness. So for many, yeah, you can go to yoga and start the process. And what I find is that, well, you know, even coming from India as my home background, that's where yoga started. And what's wrong with the world, I find, is that the Eastern and Western systems haven't merged. So somebody's taken a concept, a very truthful concept, and sometimes focusing too much on the stretching aspects and not focusing on the actual breathing aspects, right? So, and that's why you see restorative yoga now coming into play, because somebody now has taken basically fundamental yoga and remarketed it into restorative, focusing a lot on breath work. But again, when you're doing these things and you find that you cannot engage that diaphragm, what do? You know, you can sit there and waste time trying to do it, or you can do what an athlete does, because athletes, this is why I became an athletic therapist. So you know how you said physio and athletic, you know, the reason I became an athletic therapist is because athletes need to get better fast. They get very emotional if they're sitting in their rooms and not being productive out there on the field. So this is why we use strategies for general public to engage these muscles and basically create sustainable change. And that's another thing that a lot of people forget. We don't want to see you in our offices every day. Not that we don't want to see you, but that's not who we are. Our goal is to empower you, take control, manage your health the best way you know is possible.